Welcome back to the county seat. Our topic today with elections, some changes in Duchesne County. This is the first county in Utah that has eliminated voting at the ballot box in a precinct and gone to an entire mail-in ballot system. Now, as we covered in the first block, we talked about the fact that traditionally there are multiple ways to vote. Absentee, mail-in, and then going to your polling place. But we now want to talk about really the details of what prompted the change. Now, Commissioner, you had mentioned that the district or the county got divided into 3 legislative districts where previously it had all been pretty much part of one, right?
Yeah, right.
So help me understand this a little bit more clearly as to why that was a concern, that you'd have some people that are in a precinct and their neighbors across the street are no longer in that precinct. What impact does that have on voting?
Well, the legislature, when they redistricted, they followed census lines. Now, the census lines, nobody
makes no census.
They don't, and so take out in our area, you come out into Fruitland, Highway 40. Yeah. Okay, for us, that was one community. Well, they split that right down the middle, and so they're no longer. We have people on the south side of the road that will be voting for a representative out of Carbon County. And then the north side will be represented by somebody, Mel Brown's district right now. And so that created a problem. You can do that with the ballot machines, but you got to have everything correctly to be able to identify which representative they would be voting for.
Okay, so, well, somebody would look at that and they would, from the voter side, and say, big deal. I mean, that's your problem, not mine. What impacts would this have on the actual voters?
Well, the impacts is that for their caucus meetings and for their polling locations, if we had kept them that way, they would have to travel 30 miles or 45 minutes or things of that nature to even get there. The basis for the decision we made was to make everything easier for the voter. We weren't trying to take anything away from them or question their ability to vote, but we were just trying to make it easier for them to be able to vote because of the problems that caused in the distance.
Okay, from a party standpoint, I mean, I'm sure the challenges to a party are the same, whether they be the Democratic, Republican, Libertarian, or whoever else is out there. What does the Republican Party see, and what problems does solve for the parties?
Well, they've had some people upset about it, but just like in regular politics, you have a lot of people that are also excited about it, and that's kind of what we've seen about this. As a party, there are other states. Oregon does all mail-in, and they've seen their voter increase go way up. Mm-hmm. And of course, as a party, and it doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, we all want the largest voter turnout we can possibly get. And mail-in voting is one way that's been proven to increase voter turnout dramatically. And so, when this was proposed, we were kind of excited about it because we saw it as a way to bring more people in and get more people to vote, even, Democrat, Republican, whoever it is, as a way to increase overall voter turnout.
We're going to have to actually, if you think about this, if this becomes the trend in Utah, we're going to have to update our lingo. Because it's no longer voter turnout, it's voter mail-in or voter participation, because
voter percentages.
Because nobody has to turn out. They can sit there in their living room and watch the 10 o'clock news.
I don't know. I had to drive up to the post office yesterday and turn out to drop my ballot in the mail. So.
One thing that's really important is that the Republican Party isn't the only party who helped us participate with this. The Constitution Party chair was there, the Democratic Party chair was there, the school board district was there, all the mayors from all the cities and towns were there. They all helped us with this decision. It wasn't just something that we chose to do on a whim.
So while there may be some concern from the general public, most of the election-affected entities were participating and on board and in favor of what we were doing?
Yes, in fact, some of our entities, our cities and stuff, are going to follow our lead and do the same thing. And they're the big cities, Roosevelt City, Duchesne City.
What have been the big challenges for you?
Addressing, making it so that the postmasters and our GIS are on the same address as far as addressing goes, physical addresses. Getting people to understand the change. way back in March, we sent out postcards for everybody to update their information. And we've had a hard time getting the people, the dedicated voters, to update their information. And
Because
this
they
process,
think, I'm already registered, why should I have
and
to
I
do
voted
this?
for forever.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are affected by this process.
How dare you? I've
Because-
never missed an election in my life. I've
Well,
never written
And the thing is that to make that valid, you know, you need to sign it. We don't have current signatures on for
Right.
these people, and so they need to come in and fill out a new card. Some of them's had the same address, but the post office has changed their addresses for them on routes, rural routes, and so that becomes a problem. And now we're trying to identify everybody by with GIS, physical addressing.
Well, we had a dedicated voter come into our office yesterday who has voted in every election for 30 years. And he thought that everything was fine until he received his ballot, and his mailing address is now different than it was 20, 30 years ago. And so he didn't realize the importance of following the directions on the postcard we had sent out. And just that little bit, he finally understood, oh yeah, it's the dedicated voters that we need to make sure is up to date. Because those people who move so often, we always have their information.
Well, in that process, working, we've had a couple of meetings with the Postal Service representatives out of Salt Lake, trying to make this as
Streamlined.
painless as possible, but as efficient. And we're finding out with sending out the postcards that there was a lot that came back to us. So they've gone through and tried to help us resolve why that one didn't get there.
Once you get this process done, and people get on track with it, I mean, this first election is going to probably be a little hairy. But once that's done, do you anticipate that it will become easier overall than the
Yes.
previous way?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we do. This one, we're working out the finer points of things, you know. We do, when we did absentee before, we always send out our own envelopes and stuff, and this time we had a printing company help us with that, so that we could make sure that we got everything done. And little glitches like not having their voter ID number on the envelope and us having to go through and do that when that's not going to be typical. That type of thing takes a lot more time and effort to make sure that we're getting the right person into the system.
We don't have to pay for the poll workers. We'll have poll workers, but it's helped us so that we haven't spent that time trying to train people and teach them how to set up the cards for the machines and that. And so, yeah, there's a lot of positive things about this, and maybe we could go into that.
I think after the break could probably be a good time to talk about it.
Yeah, we are just really excited about it.
Great. Well, listen, we will take that cue to take a break right now. We will be back with the county seat. We're talking about elections in Duchesne County and the fact they've gone to a mail-in ballot system. We'll look at the pitfalls when we come back in just a minute.
Unlimited opportunity for adventure. It's all about knowing where to look. ATV adventures, rock crawling events, art festivals, and wildlife events. The opportunities are limitless. Pick your adventure in Miller County.
The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration. SITLA manages 3.5 million acres of Utah lands with the express purpose of furthering the education of Utah students while promoting local industry, oil and gas, even residential development, all at the same time. Through the careful use of trust lands, we distributed more than $22 million to Utah schools last year. The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration, building the state's permanent school fund.
Along Interstate 70 and Highway 89 is an area that is rich with high mountain peaks, vast forests, lakes, streams, historical sites, and a climate that is perfect for outdoor adventures, no matter what the season. Whether you visit Sevier County to catch one of the many celebrations, experience a country-style county fair, or be part of various concerts, sports, or equestrian events, you will be greeted by local residents with a smile and a welcoming hand. In the center of it all, Sevier County.